This is a compaction technology service instruction video for replacing a trash door actuator with and without the disconnect. First, you want to open the front door to the machine and remove the top, either using the key or the triangle key like we discussed in the top removal video. After you've removed the top and carefully set it aside, we're going to remove the front door skin by taking off 6 T25 Torx screws. There are 3 on each side. Once you've removed all the Torx screws, simply lean the skin forward and carefully lift it off the tabs on the bottom. You can set the skin carefully off to the side, being sure not to put tension on the LCD cable. Next, we'll look at these 2 screws. If they're a hex head, you don't have to do anything. But if they're a pan head with an Allen wrench hole, we'll want to remove those as soon as we get to the package of parts that we have. You'll want to be careful to make sure that there's not a lock nut on the top one before trying to remove them. If it's already hex head on the back and a lock nut on the inside, you won't have to do anything. The next thing we'll want to do is use our 2 7/16 wrenches to remove both of these bolts. Using your 7/16 wrenches, you want to very carefully remove both bolts. There are nylon spacers that you want to keep track of. Same thing with the upper bolt. Once you have it removed, the trash door actuator will be hanging free. The next step we'll want to do is to remove it from the circuit board. As you look at the circuit board from the front of the machine, the first plug on the left side should have a green and yellow wire. We're going to unplug that. And using our Wago tool, we're going to remove the wires. It's important to note that the yellow wire goes towards the front of the machine. Once you've removed the Wago clip, we're actually going to pull this out of the door and release the whole trash door actuator. The next step is to put the one in that you just received. Once you've retrieved your replacement trash door actuator, it should have a disconnect in it that looks like this. Our first step is to line it up in this bracket here and put the pin through it at the top. Then we'll use a butterfly clip to hold that pin in place. These pins are replacing the screws that were there earlier. Next, you should have a longer one that will have 2 nylon spacers on it. You should have also hung on to 2 of the nylon spacers from the bolt that we took out. We're going to weave these through intermittently, starting with one, then going through the bracket into the next one, then through the trash door actuator, then into another nylon spacer, and then finally the last spacer on the outside. Again, using a butterfly clip to hold this in place. After the trash door actuator is secure, we're going to feed the wiring back through the grommet we took it out of. We'll carefully feed the disconnect through as well. Once it's through, we'll switch to this side of the machine. On this side of the machine, once the wire and the disconnect have been fed through the grommet, we're going to feed it through this conduit here. Sometimes you have to clip this zip tie in order to feed it through. You may be able to feed it through without, but I suggest cutting it for the ease of use. We want to leave enough slack in this portion of the door when we put this wire in the conduit that you can feed that disconnect back through the grommet if we need to replace the trash door actuator in the future. Once you're confident you have enough slack, you can replace the zip tie that you cut. Next, we're going to install the Wago clip and plug it back into the circuit board. Now, using the Wago clip that we disconnected the old trash door actuator from and the wires of the new trash door actuator, we're going to reconnect it, starting with the yellow wire towards the front of the machine or to the right of the plug. It's important to make sure that you don't push the rubber coating of the wire too far down in because you'll miss the connection. Once both wires are seated properly, we'll plug it back into the board. Now we're going to test the trash door actuator. So first, we want to lock the big door. You should hear the mag lock disengage, and then we'll wave our hand under the motion sensor. If we installed it correctly, the door should open and then close. Once we've tested it, we want to replace the front skin and the top. When replacing the front skin, you want to start by hooking the bottom corner of the left edge under the hinge and rotating it into place. This is about the easiest way to get it locked onto those bottom two tabs. Then simply slide it the rest of the way into place, put your T25 screws in, open the door, slide the top on, and replace those screws as well. If you've been informed that you have a trash door actuator with a disconnect, you'll simply feed that forwards through the grommet on the door. Then, using a firm grip, you're going to pull it apart. Your replacement trash door actuator will have the same connector. It plugs in the same way. Once you've plugged it in, you can simply take the pins off the old actuator and put the new actuator in its place. If you have any questions about the locations of the pins or the nylon spacers, you can refer to this video earlier.